Highminded LLC to operate a marijuana establishment manufacturing at 126 Main Street, Great Barrington, in accordance with sections 3.1.4, C13, 18, and 10.4 of the zoning bylaws. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Explanation of the project.
Hi, good evening. Kate McCormick, Murtaugh and Marcus. I'm here tonight on behalf of Highminded LLC, and I'm here tonight with Alexander Farnsworth, a principal in the LLC, and Braden Farnsworth, who's the operations manager for Highminded. The location of the premises is 126 Main Street in Great Barrington. The purpose of the special permit is a marijuana establishment for manufacturing. We have an original adult use retail HCA agreement with this board that was done January 16th, and we came back in front of the board August 12th to modify that. Adult use is retail is by right in the B2 zone, which is where this property lies. In addition to the right to sell, we are looking for an accessory use for manufacturing. The site is a 0.2 acre parcel, as I said, 126 Main Street. It's in a B2 zoning district, and it's a pre-existing standalone building, which most recently was Dempsey's Physical Therapy. And my clients are looking not as a principal use, but as an accessory use. The goal for them is to have a adult use retail establishment, but to have the ability to package and brand its own products for sale. And by doing so, they will have to have a manufacturing license from the CCC. That manufacturing license, to comply with our zoning bylaw, requires a special permit. When we were here to seek an amendment to the HCA agreement, we made that subject to coming back before you to obtain the special permit. It's a very limited use that we're looking for. It's limited due to the space constraints of the property, as well as the lack of a commercial kitchen in the property. It's going to be a self-contained countertop unit. The Futurola knockbox is the machine that will sit tabletop, and it doesn't contain any combustible solvents, and it takes bulk cannabis products material. It measures it and puts it in jars, cartridges, and pre-rolls. There'll be no additional odor than there will be in the establishment. We were in front of the planning board originally in April for a site plan review for the retail, which was approved, and we were back on November 14th to get an amended approval. Nothing with the site plans changed. The interior layout's not changed. It's just a box that will be sitting on a countertop behind in the back of the house. So for anyone coming into the building, you'll have no idea that there's anything different going on. To my understanding, theory, because they started as a medical, they have the right to pre-package without a separate license, package their own materials. So that's already happening there, but for an adult use, it's a separate license issued by the CCC, and that's why we are back in front of you. If I could just run through the zoning compliance. We are here in front of you for section 3.1.4C13, which is for marijuana manufacturing, 7.18, and then which is the marijuana regulation under the zoning bylaws, and 10.4, which is for the special permit. The section 7.18 marijuana establishments, to go through the bylaw for the purpose is to provide for the placement of marijuana establishments and medical marijuana centers in accordance with chapter 94I, medical marijuana. This isn't medical marijuana, so there's no response required there. The 7.18.2 definitions, it just lies out the fact that the Cannabis Control Commission is also involved in the application. 7.18.3 is that a site plan is required, and as I previously reported, the original site plan was approved and amended, was also approved by the planning board. The other license that, or permitting that's required under this is to have an HCA, which we have, but it's subject to this, to get permitting for the Cannabis Control Commission. When we were in front of this board for the HCA, one of the reasons we asked to make our host agreement subject to the special permit is that we had already had our retail filed and in the queue with the Cannabis Control Commission, and we had asked for permission to be able to file this license as well, so they could catch up and kind of run concurrently together. So it is our understanding that the retail and the manufacturing are in the same queue coming from the CCC. The entire operation will be fully enclosed in the existing building. As it was with the retail, this is even the back of the house so that it won't be able to be seen from any area. The storage of marijuana, it'll be similar to the retail regulations, and we will store them within a secure enclosed building. We'll make sure that we meet all requirements of the CCC. No marijuana products will be smoked or eaten or consumed on site. We've met that requirement. And we will post a bond per CCC regulations. We will post an escrow that will cover the dismantling or destruction of any cannabis-related material if this business closes. Similar to the retail, it's got social, economic, and community needs that are being met by this proposal. It'll create additional job opportunities as they intend to hire additional employees to help with this manufacturing. As we discussed with the intent of my client's use is to sell it within their retail store. When we were here for the HCA, we talked about the impact, that there's no additional impact in the town for the manufacturing if it's sold in the store. So we agreed that we would pay the town for the retail charges that we had negotiated under the HCA agreement, and there will be no additional, just kind of changing the ownership from the manufacturing arm to the retail arm. But if there was any product that was sold as a wholesaler value outside to a different shop, we will pay 1.5% to the town for the community impact fee. We're looking to keep that open as an option, but size is a limitation. For the small amount of products that can be done in this tabletop with no commercial kitchen, just with a kitchen sink in the back of the house, there's really not any, there's really no benefits to selling anything wholesale from a monetary standpoint. It may help with branding, so we would like the opportunity to be able to do that. The traffic impact, we presented a traffic impact study as part of to the planning board, and we discussed the parking that were in the area for the retail, we don't expect this to increase or generate any additional consumer trips. Impacts on the natural environment, it's pre-existing. There's no planned expansion of the building for this manufacturing use. And again, for the community fiscal impact, any payments that are made under the host agreement will be a benefit to the town, though we don't see there being any large correlation for the manufacturing. By allowing my clients to be able to brand their materials, we hope that'll make a successful store retail experience, and will therefore on the retail side pay the town back and increase in a positive way the financial impact. I can turn over to Alexander or Braden to talk about the specifics of the machine if you'd like. I don't know how much in detail you want to get into the tabletop.
Let's see if we have any questions about the
Okay.
specifics of the machine. No,
I believe
I'm not
that's-
seeing any questions. about
Okay.
that. Sounds pretty dry.
It is.
Um,
So that's the end of my presentation on the special permit.
Okay, so is anyone here to speak in favor or opposition? Questions from the board?
Aye.
Yes, Kate.
Go ahead, Lee.
No.
Or you don't have, I have a couple. I guess, I was kind of under the impression that, this was kind of an unknown, and that you kind of thought this was something that you could do in the business already, and that it came to you later on to be made aware that manufacturing was something that you would have to get a separate host agreement for. I mean, obviously you came to us at separate times for them. So I'm just curious how you went to a leap in the amount of jobs that it would create. If you thought that this was gonna be something that was part of your business to begin with, how is it now suddenly creating more jobs?
Yeah, and to your point, the amount of jobs that are part of manufacturing were calculated originally because it has always been part of our plan. But in terms of additional job creation, it is a separate agent registration card via the CCC, and so we anticipate you also have to have a food analyst permit, and so we anticipate that only certain employees will be able to work with the manufacturing side, and they may have a specialty to deal with raw marijuana products. And so we do anticipate that it would require a few more additional employees.
So if the number may be a tad bit misleading, because when we were when we were in front of the HCA to talk about the retail,
Right.
we gave you a number, and that was when we include, at that point, it was always the intent to do the processing. So it may not be additional, but they have to have certain qualifications, so they will be isolated. So if they weren't able to do that, it might cut down on one of the employees that they would have had to have, because they wouldn't need somebody with those certifications.
And then, I guess I'm curious because I know that they're in some ways like registered as two separate businesses. Is that correct? You have to kind of, are you both, I remember there, you were like, because ultimately what you manufactured, you sell to what you're then retailing. So do they in your building need to be stored in two separate locked, do you need separate locked, or they're all in one place? And that's, I'm just curious as to when that
Yeah.
sale from one business to the next happens, if they're
Yeah.
being kind
So
of.
both, all the product is kept in the same area, and both licenses are held by our company, the same
Right.
company. But there is a transfer of inventory when you take a bulk product, and it's broken down into segments, into individual products.
Right.
And so it's something that happens into Metric, which is the state seed to sale tracking
Yeah,
system.
there was a really interesting thing on NPR about it recently, but I understand it more than I ever did before, but I was curious as to what, cause
So,
that would
uh,
obviously change your site plan in some way, which is, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, it's no site plan changes, but it's basically a paper transaction, so it's a metric.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing? So moved. Second. Roll call vote.
I,
Aye. Motion, findings.
I move to approve the findings of fact for special permit 903-19 as submitted and referenced as Exhibit A.
Second. Discussion.
I
Yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
with the job creation, we're accepting what they've sent to us as accurate? Is that what we're doing? I mean, we don't know, what else we, well, I mean, we don't know if that job creation number is accurate, and does that, I don't know, does it matter? That's why I'm, you know,
Yeah,
Okay.
Job creation, historically, have been overstated by other groups much larger than this one.
very true.
So,
If I could can I know you're in discussion, can I make a statement?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because the other use is by right, we've never put that other number, other than talking about it in the HCA, out there as part of another special permit.
Right.
So, I don't think it's that, because it's not gonna piggyback on another number we put out there.
Another special permit number, but it
Correct.
piggybacks on another host agreement number.
But it's one
Either
host
number.
agreement that we did, we ended up amending the original host agreement and including the other. So I don't think we have contradicting host agreements.
Okay.
Anyone else? Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion for approval.
Move in view of the approved findings of fact to approve special permit number 903-19 to operate a marijuana manufacturing establishment at 126 Main Street in accordance with section 3.1.4, C13, 7.18, and 10.4 of the zoning bylaw, and in conformance with the application submitted.
Second. Any discussion?
To be honest, I don't really want them selling it to other people, or I would like to be able to have some sort of,
What?
why?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I guess it would, what happens if it just changes into manufacturing? I don't foresee that happening with this particular owner, but if something were to happen down the road, do we really wanna, I mean, that doesn't seem like the best use of the downtown business to have it be strictly manufacturing of marijuana.
So I thought about this, and I actually was gonna suggest that we limit it to sales within. But then I thought about it, and forget all the free trade. It may be down the road, if traffic is an issue and other things, manufacturing is gonna be less burdensome on the community. So I'm not as concerned about it as I was, because if they're not, if they for some reason decide to just do manufacturing and retail doesn't work out, be less traffic. I mean, that's how I look at it. So, it's all gonna
But
work out.
it would change potentially, I mean, the amount of equipment that they would need for manufacturing. I don't know what, I realize that this is what we're talking future, not talking about right now, but I think if they were doing strictly manufacturing, I think a little tabletop thing, you know, or if we get to the point where vaping becomes legal again, can they do it?
Well, let me ask Chris this question. They have clearly said that it's gonna be a tabletop unit. If they expand by 50%, do they have to come back?
They expand beyond the tabletop
Yes.
unit, they
Yeah,
need to
to-
come back to you.
Right, and the CCC, I believe, it checks them multiple times a year, as I heard on NPR. So I know that, you
So
know,
they'll
we
have
would
to come back to
they
us
would have to
anyway.
come back
Yeah.
if they were in violation.
Yeah.
Okay, then I feel okay with that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we might as well just jump right into the new business, which is also Highminded. Recommendation to the planning board on the special permit application for Highminded LLC, seeking permission to deviate from the awning height requirements of section 146-6 of the sign bylaw for 126 Main Street. The application filed in accordance with section 146-20 of the sign bylaw. Yes.
Kathleen McCormick, again for Highminded LLC. So we filed an application for a special permit in front of the planning board under general laws 146-4B, awnings and awning signs. As I talked about in my last presentation, the building is a pre-existing building. I believe everybody's somewhat familiar with the building. There's kind of bigger windows and they kind of sit lower to the ground. To do some of our sprucing up of the building, one of the design factors is to put awnings over to give the windows a higher a higher look, a more proportionate look. Because of the level and the height of the windows, it is less than is required under the bylaw for the awning. So there is a ability to deviate from that by going to the getting a special permit from the planning board. So we are just asking for a favorable recommendation to go forward. It's Highminded's proposed canvas awnings cannot comply with the bylaw, as the tops of the windows range from 7 feet to 7 feet 10 inches above grade, and that is not in compliance with the bylaw. So we are requesting that they deviate and allow us to install the awnings.
Will there be any graphics on the awnings? Like, will you be putting Highminded on it, or will there be anything on the awnings?
Yeah, potentially, and that was proposed in our original site plan that was approved, so the awning design hasn't changed. But currently they're planned to be black awnings.
So we'll say Highminded on it, black awnings?
Well, we would still need to get sign approval if we actually used a representation of our name. This, what we're deviating from, is just the height, and it happens to be under the sign bylaw and your general bylaws. So we're not saying that this is our sign application,
Yeah,
but there is a chance that we will brand them with the logo or the wording of the business on it. But they are decorative to try to add a little more. Two things: they're decorative, and they're also going to help screen the area so that, you know, we don't want anybody to see in, but we also don't want it to be a white. It's such a gateway to the town. We don't want it to be a facade that's just opaque and you can't see anything through. So we've spent some time trying to figure out the best way to protect from anybody seeing the product, and also to give some architectural interest to the building.
So the windows would be opaque, but.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to see any product through the. But it just allows us. It's part of the design to keep that appearance, so that it looks a little more inviting. Because there are a lot of windows in that building.
It's a pleasure. Do we want to make that?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion saying what the heck do we know about awnings? Let's just make a motion to send a positive recommendation.
Second. Discussion.
I mean, I guess my only thing would be if there's some sort of ADA violation, but I can't imagine, and that's something
7 feet tall.
and that's something that the planning board will certainly be looking at, so I'm not super concerned about it. But that would just, because I like to input these things.
All in favor of a positive recommendation?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
very
your
much.
time. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Licenses are